Where there is no vision, the people perish. You probably heard that verse. Maybe you've seen it on the wall in a boardroom or heard it in a sermon about leadership. But what does it more likely mean? Well, let's read the whole verse. Proverbs 29:18 in the King James Version says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." So did you catch that? That second line completely changes the context. It isn't primarily about casting a vision to other people. It's about the freedom that comes from keeping God's law. The two lines belong together, and without the second, you're kind of misreading the first. That's the pattern this series is designed to illustrate. When we read only half a thought, we supply our own second half, and sometimes we're missing out.
What is parallelism? Hebrew poetry doesn't rhyme the way English poetry does, especially when it's translated into another language. English poetry depends a lot on rhythm and meter and rhyming of words, but Hebrew poetry rhymes ideas, lining thoughts up against each other in patterns. We call this parallelism. Two or more lines are arranged so they echo, contrast, build upon, or mirror each other, and the structure itself can hold meaning. And here's the key understanding. The meaning lives in the relationship between the lines, not in any single prose line alone. Sometimes when we read only one line, we're reading half a thought. This matters for practical reasons. These patterns were designed to help memory and understanding before texting, before the printing press, and before literacy was written. Scripture traveled through families by memory, parent to child, generation to generation. So the parallelistic structure wasn't decoration. It was an intentional delivery system. Over the next several videos, we're going to show you specific patterns used in the original oral tradition. Once you learn to see them, you'll read the scriptures, especially the Psalms and any other ancient texts, in a completely new way.
We think this is important because sometimes things get lost in translation. So here's something that we need to really understand before we go further. Some parallel structures don't survive translation fully intact. Hebrew is a language of extraordinary depth and rhythm, and some of that is just simply lost when it crosses to English or another language. Grammatical patterns, things like prefix pairings, verb forms that mirror each other, word order that creates a mirror image, those are almost impossible to see in translation. You'd need to use the original Hebrew. But the good news is that the deeper structural parallelism, the kind that's built on that relationship between ideas, survives translation remarkably well. That's actually one of the reasons the Psalms have spoken to people across centuries and languages. The King James Version, which is what we're going to use through this series, preserves the parallelistic structure pretty faithfully. More than many modern translations, that's for sure, but the King James Version tends to keep lines intact and the meaning in the right relationship.
So let's bring parallelism and metaphor together. One of the most powerful combinations in Hebrew poetry is metaphor, working inside a parallel structure. Let's look at Psalm 42, verse 1. As the hart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. The first line gives you the physical image, a deer exhausted, desperately searching for water. The second line reveals what the image means. The psalmist's soul, his own soul longing for God. Neither line is complete alone. The metaphor needs the parallel to land, and the spiritual truth needs the metaphor to come alive. Together, they give you something you can feel, not just a statement to believe, but a picture to inhabit. That's what Hebrew poets were doing. They weren't decorating their ideas. The structure was part of the meaning.
So as a preview of the different types, in the videos that follow, we'll walk through specific types of parallelism Each has its own pattern and has its own purpose. Synonymous, antithetic, emblematic, synthetic, composite, inverted, climactic, you've probably heard of chiasmic, and syntopic. Each one is a different tool, and once you know what to look for, you'll start to see them everywhere, in the Psalms, in Proverbs, in the prophets. By the time we get to our live discussion of Psalm 119, you'll have, we think, everything you need to see what might be actually going on in those extraordinary passages.
Now let's go back to where we started. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Now that you know what's happening, 2 lines, 1 thought, a contrast that sharpens the meaning of each half. That's parallelism. And it's waiting for you in almost every page of the Psalms, Proverbs, and the entire Bible. As you watch these videos, we invite you to do 3 things. Open your scriptures and read along. Use your own skills of discovery. Observe, ask yourself questions, and explore more. And notice how 2 voices, one more analytical and one more intuitive, can open up meaning that neither finds alone. These short videos are preparing you to join us live, and they can help you to watch the recordings where we'll search Psalm together.